Dr. Anthony Fauci causing more controversy. He is being accused of profiting off the pandemic by putting out a new book that was written during the health crisis. And newly released emails now show that between Fauci and a researcher tied to the Wuhan lab, they reveal that Fauci may have given China a free pass early on. That researcher writing this: I just wanted to say a personal thank you on behalf of our staff and collaborators for publicly standing up and stating that the scientific evidence supports a natural origin for COVID-19 from a bat to human spillover, not a lab release from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. I don't know, Greg, my first question is, why would Dr. Fauci have been communicating directly with a researcher from the Wuhan lab, and did he take that researcher at his word?
I suppose so. And I think that researcher, fact-check me on this, somebody over there.
Who are you talking to?
Just anybody. But isn't this dude, was really involved in this in this stuff. And he was on the board of fact-checking on Facebook.
Yeah.
So he had his finger in everything. By the way, the book title is, Fauci's book title is Expect the Unexpected, 10 Lessons in Truth, Service, and the Way Forward. That was his second choice because How I Saved the World was taken. But what I really noticed in the emails was there were so many kiss-ass emails by people in the media and other industries trying to ingratiate themselves to Pope Fauci. And there was so much fawning that I think I got a deer tick just reading them. Ooh. But I think he's all over the place. He's very careful he's very cagey because he knows that his emails are going to be read. But this is kind of scary because basically they're massaging this idea away. They're trying to make it go away.
To Greg's point about the praise, Jesse, that particular email went on to say, from my perspective, your comments are brave, the researcher said to Fauci. And coming from your trusted voice will help dispel the myths being spun around the virus's origins.
Fauci's about to get the Avenatti treatment. You know, when
they
love you one minute and then the next minute they're like, who are you? Because he's no longer going to be useful. This is a long list of dirty laundry from Fauci. There's emails in there of scientists saying, yeah, this virus looks like it's engineered. You might want to look into it. One scientist emailed, hey, this is how they engineered it. Yeah. Fauci's in there sending emails, you know, masks don't really work. And then he's out there on TV saying people need to double mask. This is bad stuff. And I think Biden's going to soon look to get Dr. Anthony Fauci a little bit of an off-ramp, because next Senate hearing, I see Rand Paul licking his chops. He's going to tear the doctor a new one, and it's not going to be pretty.
Harold, Jesse is referencing the one expert who warned Fauci in January 2020 that the coronavirus potentially looked engineered and had some unusual features. So, to Greg's point about this book that Fauci is writing about the truth, will he reveal that he was given a heads up to look into that at the very least?
We'll see. Look, I think if you pull back the covers on emails and a lot of things, I think you'll find a lot of back and forth between people and government. It's hard for me to reach a conclusion that Dr. Fauci is anything other than maybe politically naive, to call him intentionally malicious or un-American from a guy who's given his entire public life, from AIDS to COVID, 40 years. Has he made some mistakes? Sure. I think when President Trump, maybe naively suggested that maybe we can inject ourselves with soap and that might serve as a defense to COVID, and he asked Dr. Birx.
Didn't say that, Harold?
Well, no, he asked Dr. Birx the question.
No, it was about light. It was about infrared light.
No, but he also asked about, well, whatever it was. I thought it was an interesting question, and she answered the question.
Someone fact check that. It's fact checking you.
Do I have one of those? So all I'm saying is, I think you have to be willing to move beyond that. And if we find that there's an effort by Dr. Fauci to have covered up the fact that this came from this lab and that we're now going to investigate it, then I think the dagger should be out. But it's just hard for me to reach a conclusion I don't think President Reagan wanted anything but freedom for our country, even though the Iran-Contra thing happened on his watch. People make mistakes, they say things, and they move on. This is not even close to Iran-Contra, but we'll learn from this book, and we'll learn more if we allow an investigation. I hope my party and I hope Republicans allow for an investigation to take place in Congress so we can get to the bottom of whether this came from this lab or not.
Yeah, but how many people died in Iran-Contra compared to a pandemic?
well, we
A lot
don't know.
more people died during this pandemic than Iran-Contra.
Right,
and if it
but
looks
you're
like
not blaming
he
Dr.
was
Fauci
covering
for that,
up for
though, Jeff.
China, no. If you can point back to that money that went to Wuhan to do gain of function and him trying to cover that up after 3.5 million people have died so they could keep the heat on Trump instead of China, and then lock every American down so the Democrats can rewrite all these state election laws to beat Trump? No.
Well,
that's a pretty big scandal.
But so I accept that. But are you telling? I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying if we had determined at the beginning that this came from the lab as opposed to manufacturing,
because that would have united the
600...
country against China instead of divided the country against Trump.
All right, let me get Dagan in here because Harold's making the point about public service, Dr. Fauci, 40-plus years, but he's writing a book and he's profiting off of that book, a book that he chose to write during the pandemic while this health crisis was still happening. Dagan.
Imagine writing a book during a pandemic.
I mean, who has the time?
Yeah, at least he waited a little bit longer than Killer Cuomo here in New York. He's a spotlight-seeking hack. And we've seen that repeatedly over and over again. He changes his story, he still gets booked on CNN. Listen, the last 2 books I read were about Ted Bundy and Diane Downs, who tried to murder her 3 kids, killing one of them. So, you know, reading Fauci's book isn't out of the question for me. The issue is money. It is always following the money. And Fauci's National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases funneled money through that researcher, Peter Daszak's EcoHealth Alliance, into the Wuhan lab. And Fauci says definitively, well, it didn't go to gain-of-function research to potentially make a coronavirus more transmissible and more deadly. He does not know that. There is no way for him to ever know that. But what I do know is that money from the United States could have gone to potentially create a virus that has come back and killed, 600,000 Americans and 3.5 million people worldwide. Kind of think that is worth looking into. Yeah. And by the way, Tony Fauci, he's past his expiration date, but he's not naive. So if a explosion happens in a town that has a munitions factory, you don't go look in the laundromat. Yeah. You go look in the munitions factory.
Daily Caller had a tweet out today. Sick of him yet? It was every cover of every magazine Dr. Fauci has graced during this crisis. One sitting by a pool, as we know.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.